Thank you so much for staying tuned to MBCI TV. You're watching The Know-How and I'm your host, Triza Kiarie. Now, did you know that your papers and qualifications are no longer enough for a potential employer or for a potential business partner to strike a deal with you or to hire you for a job? We have evolutionized to a world where the way you look, the way you talk, and even the way you communicate actually communicates volumes about you. And to take us through all that, I am joined by one awesome gentleman. His name is DERICK BANGA. He is a household name. You can talk about public image and not talk about DERICK BANGA. So stay tuned. Let's learn how to do it right. Let's learn about public image. Stay tuned. So like I said, you're going to be talking to DERICK BANGA about public image. I think you and me have a lot to learn. So yeah. Hi, DERICK.
Hello.
Hello, it's such a pleasure to meet you.
Delighted to meet you as well, Teresa.
Yeah, looking good as always.
Thank you very much.
Okay, does this come with the job, public image and all?
You know something, my desire is anytime I walk into a room, I want to be the best dressed man in that room. And that's just my brand. Part of personal branding and public image is to decide how do you want to be seen, how do you want to be heard, and how do you want to be remembered? And for me, dressing is one way that I can choose to separate myself from a lot of other competitors, and so I do enjoy dressing.
Okay, we're in a hyper-competitive world where everyone has to be on the run to get to the top and everything. So what are some of the tips that you can give us for public image, how we present ourselves?
Okay. I will say three things to be aware of. Number one, what I alluded to earlier is your personal brand. Personal brand is your reputation. It's what people say about you even before you walk into that room. So number one, I would say develop a personal brand, a good personal brand. How do you want to be seen, heard, and remembered? Number two, I would say, is the external representation of that personal brand, which is your image, hence the name public image. So that entails how you are seen in terms of the clothes that you wear and also how you carry your body language. We make up a lot of our minds about people simply based on non-verbal communication. So for example, that handshake you gave me at the beginning tells me everything I need to know about you. So working on body language. And then the third thing I would say is to work on communication skills. So the ability to be able to influence other people through how you put your thoughts together, and it can be a room full of 10 or 100 people, or even on a one-on-one meeting. If you master those three areas, then I think you're a step ahead in this hyper-competitive world.
And I think communication is very vital. Maybe you can tell us a bit on how people can improve their communication skills?
Yeah, we can start with something as simple as the voice. The voice is your God-given gift that God has given you. It's an orchestra in your mouth, but a lot of us don't use our voices to the best of our ability. So again, I'll break it down into three ways that you can improve your voice. Number one is to speak louder than normal. Most people don't speak loud enough. So it's called projection, not shouting, but projection. Number two is to speak slower than usual. You'd be surprised how many people speak way too fast, and it actually makes it seem like they're not sure of what they're talking about. And then the third thing I would say is use what is called vocal variety. So your voice changes. Like I said, it's an instrument. So it changes in pitch, it changes in pace, it changes in all sorts of ways. It's actually not supposed to be monotonous. So those three key things in terms of your voice are one way that you can improve instantly your communication skills.
And you mentioned about the handshake. I think handshake talks so much about the person that you're actually shaking hands with. And for us, it's a way of actually saying hi and communicating. Sure. So maybe you can tell us the right handshake. I hope I did it right.
Well, I will deconstruct the handshake very quickly. First of all, especially for ladies, if you're shaking the hand of, say, a man, it's important that you shake that hand firmly. So firmer than usual. Most ladies will give a soft handshake. Yeah. It's really good to have a firm grip. Not a vice-like grip. You don't want to, wring the other person's hand, but having a firm handshake, making sure that you connect.
We can demonstrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that this part of my palm catches that part of your palm, and I actually hold your hand, and I actually, because this is my way of telling you, by the way, I'm here, take me seriously, this is my brand.
Yeah.
So you need to squeeze my hand a little bit firmer. So go ahead, I'll give you a chance.
Okay.
Squeeze it.
Yeah.
This is a big hand, you're going to have to squeeze even harder than that.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's one of the things that you can do, is mastering a good handshake.
Yeah.
For example, those are called instant impression builders.
And when doing the handshake, eye contact.
Eye contact, of course, that's vital. That's non-verbal communication. A wonderful smile on your face so that you don't look threatening. These are simple things, but a lot of people either overlook them or take them for granted.
Who is supposed to initiate the handshake, or maybe even in an interview setting?
Well, I have a hard and fast rule about that. Some people might disagree, but I always say be the first. Be the first to initiate the handshake. Be the first to say hello. Be the first, even in an interview situation where people might say, well, wait to be greeted. I disagree. Being the first gives you what is called the networking advantage, and actually puts you in the driver's seat in terms of that one-on-one relationship. So I'd say, whether it's State House or whether it's an interview, stretch your hand out and be the first. Now, if that person chooses to ignore it, that's something different, but at least you made the effort.
Tell us a bit about soft skills. Why are soft skills so important in this time and age?
Oh, soft skills have become the determining factor for success, where everybody has a degree. Everybody has some sort of qualification. So how do I determine whether you're the right person? Say if I'm hiring you to work for my company, one way that you can separate yourself is mastering soft skills. Soft skills over the course of time has been shown to, for example, give you an edge competitively. People who master soft skills make more money over a course of time. They experience more professional success. So to me, mastering soft skills, social capital is another way of putting it. Building a social capital is a trait that everybody needs to have, in addition to their academic qualifications and whatever talent they might have.
Mm-hmm. I think we moved from the era where it was all about skills and papers. Now we are what you're communicating.
Yeah, and in fact, devices like mobile phones and technology have made it even more critical to master soft skills, because a lot of young people, because they're so used to being face down watching Facebook, have lost the art of being able to communicate one-on-one with persons. So in this day and age, it's even more important.
And speaking of the phone, I love that you mentioned when you're in meetings, maybe you're in an interview, or maybe even in a home setting, having dinner or something, where is your phone supposed to be?
It should be out of sight. We need to start taking control of our lives. We cannot live our lives by this mobile phone. We do not need to be socially connected to our Facebook friends 24/7. That phone should be out of sight. And instead, we should be in the moment with the person that we are speaking to.
Back to public image, maybe you can tell us, for someone who is a little bit shy, someone who is reserved, how they can improve on communication and networking.
You know, I love to quote Malcolm Gladwell, the author, who talks about the 10,000 hour rule. He says it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert, a guru, an authority at something. You've got to start practicing. Yes, factors like personality are determining factors. Some people are naturally shy, but you've got to get over yourself. The world is not fair, nor should it be. It is up to you to go out and become the better person. Up to you to rise above the fall. Avoid, as I like to say, the kawa. And one of those things, for example, if you're shy, is you've got to get over yourself. Now, there are certain things that you can do, and we talk a lot about this in our public image training, but it starts with making the first step and putting yourself out there, which may be a bit uncomfortable, but that's the only way you can become good at it.
And actually, maybe like, what are some of the tips that you share with someone who's a little bit reserved?
Well, you can go with a friend, for example. That friend can bring people to you. They can play business Cupid and introduce people to you. That's one way. When you walk into a room full of strangers, you can smile, you can have open body language. That attracts people towards you. But like I said, you've really got to have a strategy or a goal, for example, and say to yourself, I'm here at an event and I want to meet at least 3 people or 2 people, or maybe even that one person, and I will find a way of going over and introducing myself to that person. So that's a goal. The goal is not to hit the buffet, but to introduce myself to that person.
So that at least at the end of the day, you've networked with a few people.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe you can give us a bit about branding. you know, we are so strong on judging others the way they are. At times we are busy looking at politicians and saying what was that, what. So why is it so important for us, for me as a person, to brand myself and to have branding?
Great question. You've got to look yourself as a product. So just like any product or service is branded, okay, companies do a good job of doing that, you've got to start looking at yourself as a product. How do you market yourself? How do you show people that you're good at something? By the way, you may be good at something and people don't know. So part of personal branding is for you to let your target market, at the very least, know that you are the only option of doing business, or you are good at a particular something. So you've got to look at yourself, as I said, as a product. You've got to become the CEO, the marketing manager, the finance manager, and all of that. And similarly, as you would market a product, you start marketing yourself. Choose what platforms to market yourself on. If it's going online, for example, maybe you want to focus on Facebook, maybe you want to focus on Twitter. Then start tweeting things that are relevant, that sell your brand, as you would like people to see you. You've got to be strategic about all of this.
I love the fact that you mentioned about Twitter. Maybe we can talk about social media. I think social media is such a big platform. Most of us will post anything that comes to mind. Some of us will relieve our stress on our walls and everything. As part of building the brand, how can I control what I post?
Now listen, I'm not saying not have a life. If you want to post the fact that you had oatmeal for breakfast and for the world to know, that's fine. But I also use those platforms to advance my brand, my agenda, my company, and what it is that I'm good at. So for me, it is not in my best interest just to post the first thing that pops into my head. I have an opinion on anything from politics to sports. But I am now strategic in terms of what I put out there. Okay? So there may be a few posts, for example, on sports that I'm interested in, just to show that I have a life. But I'm also advancing my agenda of public image or personal branding or soft skills or communication skills. And so that gives me the reputation as the go-to person when somebody wants to have a discussion or has a question about that. So less posting what is called a stream of consciousness, just anything that pops into your head, and more, is this going to help me or advance? Is it going to help me or hinder me in terms of my professional goals at the very least?